They never saw it coming, not because Pakistan was hiding, but because it was thinking. While the world's attention was fixed on flashy weapons, loud military parades, and public demonstrations of power, Pakistan chose silence. A silence so strategic, so deliberate, that it began to unsettle even the most confident defense circles in the West. Because silence, when paired with precision, becomes a form of strength that cannot be measured by radar or satellites. Pakistan's air power evolution has taken a direction that has caught many Western analysts off guard, primarily because it didn't follow the expected route of conventional expansion. Instead of focusing on numerical superiority or expensive imports, Pakistan adopted a disciplined long-term approach centered on efficiency, precision, and strategic adaptability. This quiet transition from quantity to quality has reshaped the entire perception of its military doctrine. The Pakistan Air Force, once thought to be dependent on external allies for both strategy and technology, has demonstrated a growing capacity to innovate within its own framework. The nation's defense planners have studied regional and global conflicts deeply, drawing lessons from the failures of over-reliance on equipment and under-reliance on human skill. Their conclusion was simple yet profound. Mastery in modern air combat doesn't come from having the most jets in the sky, but from ensuring every pilot, every radar, and every weapon system functions as part of a unified, intelligent whole. That mindset marked the beginning of Pakistan's silent revolution in air strategy. The introduction of newer platforms was carefully aligned with doctrinal changes that emphasized integrated electronic warfare, stealth, and precision engagement. Every operational upgrade, whether in radar technology, training simulation, or tactical coordination, was made with a clear intention: to create a force that could not only respond to threats, but predict and preempt them. The West's concern stems from the realization that Pakistan has been able to achieve this modernization without fanfare or visible escalation, making its growth harder to monitor and counterbalance. This element of quiet evolution is precisely what Western defense circles find most unsettling, as it challenges traditional intelligence metrics. The emphasis on quality also extends to human resource development, where Pakistani pilots undergo rigorous, scenario-based training designed to simulate real combat stress, deception tactics, and digital warfare environments. These pilots are no longer just reactionary defenders, but strategic thinkers in the cockpit, capable of adapting in real time. This silent shift has allowed Pakistan to develop a deterrence capability rooted not in intimidation, but in respect, a kind of power that cannot be easily quantified or contained, and that realization is what truly alarms those studying its rise in the West. Pakistan's growing independence in the field of defense technology has become one of the most intriguing and concerning developments for Western observers. For decades, Pakistan was perceived as a nation heavily reliant on imported aircraft, spare parts, and foreign maintenance support. Yet in recent years, that narrative has changed dramatically. The development of the JF-17 Thunder, a multi-role fighter jet co-produced with China but increasingly upgraded and refined through Pakistani expertise, symbolizes a deeper transformation, one that emphasizes indigenous capability and tactical self-reliance. What alarms Western defense circles is not just the aircraft itself, but the philosophy behind it. Pakistan has built a defense strategy that merges affordability, customization, and combat effectiveness into a unified model. Unlike many nations that purchase expensive Western platforms that come with political conditions, Pakistan has taken a different route, developing and enhancing its own systems to meet its unique geographical and tactical needs. This independence in development means Pakistan's defense decisions are no longer bound by the limitations of foreign suppliers or the unpredictability of international sanctions. It can modify, adapt, and upgrade its equipment in real time, aligning technology directly with its operational doctrine. This strategic autonomy also extends beyond hardware into systems integration and electronic warfare. Pakistan has developed the capability to integrate advanced avionics, radar systems, and precision-guided munitions of its own choosing rather than those dictated by a supplier's ecosystem. The result is a flexible and modular defense infrastructure, something that larger powers often overlook, but which offers enormous strategic advantages. The JF-17, for instance, now incorporates indigenous electronic countermeasure pods, smart weapon systems, and locally enhanced radar capabilities that allow pilots to engage targets with greater precision. This level of integration also demonstrates a deep understanding of modern air combat, where digital systems and information warfare play as critical a role as raw firepower. Western defense experts view this as a significant concern because it disrupts the traditional power hierarchy, where developing nations depend on Western technology for their security. Pakistan's defense scientists, engineers, and tacticians have proven that innovation does not require vast budgets, but a clear vision and strategic discipline. The ability to combine homegrown technology with tactical adaptability means Pakistan has carved out a position of independence that shields it from external coercion. This independence in the air domain represents more than just progress. It's a statement of strategic maturity, a declaration that Pakistan now dictates the tempo of its own defense future, and that quiet control is precisely what makes Western analysts uneasy. The most unnerving element for Western defense analysts is not the hardware Pakistan possesses, but the psychological philosophy guiding its use. Pakistan's approach to air combat strategy is rooted in subtlety and psychological precision, rather than spectacle or open provocation. This is what many experts refer to as the doctrine of silent deterrence, a deliberate cultivation of ambiguity that keeps adversaries uncertain about the full extent of Pakistan's capabilities and readiness. By maintaining a low public profile regarding its operational doctrines and response strategies, Pakistan has turned uncertainty itself into a defensive weapon. Its air force operates with a discipline that rarely reveals too much, never boasts, and avoids unnecessary displays of power, yet remains visibly effective when tested. This psychological control creates a unique strategic advantage because it introduces a level of unpredictability that even the most technologically advanced militaries find difficult to counter. Western analysts are accustomed to studying powers that broadcast their strength, issue bold statements, and demonstrate their capabilities through global exercises or visible deployments. Pakistan's silence, in contrast, is deeply unsettling because it denies them that visibility. Instead of showing its hand, Pakistan has learned the art of restraint, signaling strength only when necessary and leaving much of its capability to speculation. This quiet posture enhances deterrence far more effectively than loud declarations, because adversaries are left to assume the worst about what they cannot see. Its pilots are trained not just to fight, but to think strategically, to use silence, surprise, and composure as extensions of combat readiness. During aerial skirmishes or training exercises, their calm precision and ability to maintain situational awareness reflect not arrogance, but mastery. It's this composure that unnerves opponents because it demonstrates a culture of control rooted in psychological warfare. This approach also extends to diplomatic and defense communications. Pakistan seldom reveals the full scope of its modernization or electronic warfare upgrades, leaving its adversaries dependent on guesswork and fragmented intelligence. The fear of the unknown becomes a tool of deterrence, compelling regional and even Western planners to maintain caution in their assessments. It's not aggression that sustains Pakistan's air power credibility. It's the silence between actions. This mastery of psychological balance, where readiness is paired with restraint, represents a deeper understanding of modern conflict, that wars today are fought as much in perception and anticipation as in the air. Pakistan's ability to maintain that balance, to turn silence into a strategic advantage, is what keeps Western defense circles constantly alert and uneasy. Pakistan's quiet but determined progress in mastering network-centric warfare has drawn intense attention from Western defense analysts, who once believed such capabilities were limited to technologically dominant powers like the United States or members of NATO. The concept of network-centric warfare revolves around linking every component of a nation's defense apparatus: aircraft, ground systems, radars, command centers, and surveillance assets into a single integrated digital network capable of real-time communication, analysis, and response. Pakistan has gradually and efficiently adopted this principle, building a command structure that thrives on speed, adaptability, and coordination. What makes this achievement particularly significant is that it has been done with limited resources and in an environment often constrained by economic and political challenges. Through a blend of indigenous innovation, strategic partnerships, and disciplined modernization, Pakistan has built a system that rivals those of far wealthier nations. This networked approach enables its air force to synchronize operations seamlessly, respond to threats faster, and conduct complex missions with greater accuracy and minimal human delay. Western strategists find this advancement deeply concerning because it marks a clear departure from the older model of isolated, manually coordinated defense operations. By integrating surveillance drones, radar systems, fighter aircraft, and command units into a unified grid, Pakistan has effectively created a real-time information ecosystem. This means that every aircraft in the air, every missile battery on the ground, and every command officer in control is connected through a constant data exchange that allows decisions to be made in seconds rather than minutes. The ability to process, distribute, and act on intelligence instantaneously gives Pakistan a decisive edge, particularly in regional conflicts where speed and adaptability determine success. Furthermore, the growing use of artificial intelligence and predictive analytics in its defense strategy suggests that Pakistan is preparing not only for today's warfare, but for the digital conflicts of the future, where data superiority will outweigh numerical or technological advantage. This silent digital transformation also undermines one of the West's long-held assumptions that developing countries lack the infrastructure or technical literacy to sustain complex defense networks. Pakistan has shattered that notion by proving that intelligence, adaptability, and local expertise can compensate for budgetary limitations. The West now views Pakistan not merely as a regional player, but as a case study in efficient technological evolution. Its ability to interlink assets, adapt mid-battle, and maintain secure encrypted communication under pressure shows a maturity of command unseen in many comparable forces. This advancement, achieved without external dependency, signals that Pakistan's defense strategy is entering a phase where information dominance, rather than firepower alone, will define its strength, and that realization has introduced a quiet but undeniable sense of unease within Western defense circles. For many years, Western defense institutions viewed Pakistan through a narrow lens, seeing it as a nation defined by resilience and courage, but limited in terms of innovation and strategic foresight. That perception, however, has been rapidly dismantled as Pakistan's silent evolution in air combat strategy begins to reveal its depth and sophistication. The Pakistan Air Force, once thought to operate under reactive defense postures, now stands as an example of strategic precision and intellectual mastery. Western analysts have been forced to reassess long-held assumptions after observing Pakistan's ability to achieve complex modernization goals without relying on large defense budgets or overt alliances with major powers. This recalibration of perception stems from the realization that Pakistan has mastered the art of blending modest resources with maximum strategic output. It has emerged not as a follower of established doctrines, but as an innovator rewriting the framework of air warfare in its own image. This quiet confidence unsettles the West because it reflects a self-assured power that no longer needs validation through external acknowledgement or dependency. Pakistan's growing presence in international military exercises, its cooperative defense programs with nations like China and Turkey, and its expanding export potential through platforms such as the JF-17 Thunder highlight a shift in global recognition. It is no longer merely a consumer of defense technology, but a contributor to it. NATO and Western defense planners increasingly study Pakistan's Air Force not as a regional force, but as a model of adaptive military evolution, a state capable of optimizing limited means into formidable strategic ends. What alarms them most is not only the capability itself, but the mindset behind it. Pakistan's approach to modernization is disciplined, deliberate, and largely under public radar. It relies on intellectual command, flexible doctrine, and psychological subtlety, which collectively form a model that is difficult to predict or counter. In the Western defense structure, visibility and transparency are key metrics for assessing threat levels. Pakistan's opacity in this regard creates an analytical void that generates uncertainty, and in strategic circles, uncertainty equals danger. The change in perception also stems from Pakistan's balanced geopolitical strategy. It has maintained cooperation with China while engaging diplomatically with Middle Eastern and Western powers, crafting a multi-directional foreign policy that supports its defense independence. Western policymakers understand that this growing confidence gives Pakistan more leverage in shaping regional stability and air defense dynamics. The fact that this transformation happened quietly, without media campaigns or excessive declarations, only amplifies its significance. The West now recognizes that Pakistan's strength lies not in loud projection, but in silent execution, a mastery that cannot easily be countered or contained. This realization has led to a profound respect mixed with unease, a recognition that Pakistan has evolved into a modern military thinker whose influence extends far beyond its borders, reshaping the global perception of air power and strategic intelligence in the process. The world is witnessing a nation that has redefined air combat strategy not through imitation, but through innovation born of necessity and foresight. It has shown that strength is not in how loudly you announce your presence, but in how deeply your silence is felt. And today, that silence echoes across the corridors of NATO briefings, reminding the world that Pakistan's mastery of the skies was not an accident. It was a design, crafted quietly and executed flawlessly.